Hey guys, this is Ed from Mission Impossible, and I have with me Wyatt. And man, a few words.
Not usually.
Not
Hello
usually.
again. What? Do I have to do an intro every time?
Yeah, you have to do an intro every time.
I grew up in rural Montana, and then
What's your sign, or like long walks in the park, and you know.
I do like long walks in the park.
Okay.
Usually
Anyway.
it's a beach, but you know.
So this week we are doing another tier list of Atari's 2600, and it's the games that came out in 1978. So this was the second round of releases from Atari.
Minus any of the games that required the keyboard controller.
Yeah, because unfortunately I didn't have that.
Couldn't get
set
that
up.
working at first.
Unfortunately, yeah. So what we're gonna do probably with those is come back around with those with another video of just those.
Just all the ones in that sphere.
And that's going to
not
be a
just those
riveting
ones.
episode.
Possibly.
All the keyboard
They
controller
might be
games.
fun. What if,
Star Raiders is one of them. So
There we go.
that is a good game. All right, let's start it off here. So we have, let's just go in the order here. We have basketball. So as far as sports games go, I thought it was okay. I thought that they did an okay job. There were some things that were obviously omitted, things like not being able to slam, the fact that it was only one-on-one, and you know, you can't really do a three-pointer. I feel like, yes, it's basketball, but a bit
it was
lesser.
overly simple, perhaps.
Yes. But still, you know, fun.
Not bad, just
Yeah.
there wasn't enough to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that at B tier.
I think I agree with that. I think I'm also going to put it at B tier because B for basketball.
Yeah, you go.
But no, in all seriousness, I had fun while I was playing it, but it was so simple that it was the kind of game where I don't know that I would. Even if I had a 2600 and I was snowed in somewhere
Right.
or stuck, I would think of other games well before I was like,
Yeah.
let's put basketball
I think
in.
some of the other sports games we play, I think would get
Yeah.
a lot more play, to be honest. Okay, Breakout. So Breakout, you know, it's one of those things that it's kind of it was a whole genre of games. You know, Arkanoid made it really popular. There were some modes in there I thought were pretty cool, like the one with the bouncy one that would go breakthrough mode or something.
Sure, yeah.
That was neat, but I found it really hard, especially in that mode. You know, yes, the difficulty level made it kind of better, but it just increased the paddle size by just a little bit. It wasn't quite enough. The catch mode was cool, but all in all, it is Breakout, and you know, they improved on it with Super Breakout, so we'll get into that eventually. But this was kind of the start of the whole Breakout genre. Yeah,
It was the Breakout?
Yeah, it was the Breakout for Breakout. But as far as games that I would want to play, this kind of, you brought up an idea of, would I want to play this if I were snowed in? And Breakout really doesn't come to mind. I feel like it does what it does well. I like the colors and everything, but I don't see playing it. You know, sitting down and playing some Breakout. So I'm actually still gonna probably put this at a B tier though. It's good at what it is, but you know, I don't see playing it.
It did what it said on the tin, and that's true. And it, you know, threw a ball up and it bounced around. It was exceptionally difficult in the setup that we had because I'm sure it'd be easier with the original controllers.
Yeah, we're using like Xbox controllers, this very small analog
But when you
range.
do that, it's a lot harder. But also, just even with the better controls, it has been done a lot better since. And no, that doesn't, you know, I'd say it was a good starting point, but I would never play it again, probably. So
Okay.
I'm gonna put it at C tier, just because cool, but it's not gonna be one I'm gonna go back to a bunch of times, I don't think.
Fair enough. Okay, next up we have Casino. So last time we missed out on playing Blackjack during the stream, but we played it afterwards. And Casino was it's kind of weird because Casino also included Blackjack. But to be honest, That's really the only game that it did really well. Although we couldn't really play the Poker Squares game.
Sure.
I think if I didn't have technical difficulties, it would have probably been the star of the game, because the poker game was complete garbage.
It didn't really. It was very strange.
Whoever made that obviously has never played poker before.
The difficulty modes didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I almost feel like it's like whoever developed it didn't know anything about poker, because they would have went, no, you can't play this way. You know, the idea, to kind of give you a background, what it was is you had two modes on it, two difficulty modes. You could either get your because it was 5-card stud, and the idea is that in one difficulty mode, everything was face up, including the dealer's cards.
Yeah.
Specifically
the
the
standard
whole card.
mode, without changing anything, is just everybody's cards are just visible, so
which
you'll know if you're gonna win, really.
Yeah.
Pretty
or
quick.
the other mode is everybody has their first card, the whole card, face down, and you can't look at it.
Yeah, no, you could turn on one difficulty mode, which involved just hiding the first card of the dealer, meaning it's a little bit more difficult for you and your friend. But then the other mode just hides the cards from everybody.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, then I don't know what I have. So that's not.
They could have done like something like, in games like this where you could be like, all right, look away while I look at my card.
I suppose
it would be awkward. However, it would still actually work. The other option would be to have like glasses on that have different colors. Now that would be cool.
Sure.
The left person, okay, you wear red glasses. The other one wear blue glasses. And
I can say this definitively for most video games. If you have to have an added accessory,
I know
it's usually worse.
Yep, I actually would very much agree with that. But anyway, that would be the only way you could really do that without doing something like, oh, look away while I'm looking at my card.
Yeah, there's not a lot of good ways to do it.
Yeah. So Blackjack added on there was pretty much the same game. The only thing that was different about it is the fact that it allowed splits, which the first game omitted. That's not, that happens sometimes in Blackjack. You do split, if you get the same two cards.
Yeah.
But most of the time you split and you end up, getting, if you split 2 2s, you're still screwing yourself. So it's one of those things that was kind of cool, but the poker game was horrible.
I don't even think we used split in our time playing.
No, we never had even an option to even have split.
No.
But the deal is that the casino tried to just do a little bit more. But I really feel like, the Poker Squares game, the Solitaire, whatever they call it, probably was decent, providing we had a good controller. So that's not a total failure. I think that's the only mode, in my opinion, that is cool, because it actually, when you play that for real, there's actually some cool stuff with it. But I'm going to put this probably at the D level. It's not quite the basic math level, which we now have,
Not quite.
No, but it was not, to your point last time of the whole, if you had a deck of cards, it would be better.
Could have just done it better.
Yeah. It would have been a lot better, especially in the poker department.
Oh, yeah. I would very much agree with that. And even though we couldn't get the Poker Solitaire to work, so we can't fully judge it, it was still kind of an awkward way to do it.
It would be like, you're...
And holding it, there's just a lot of awkwardness, regardless of if it worked or not. Yeah. And everything else just was fine.
Also, they used the joystick, that would have probably been better.
I don't know why they didn't, honestly.
Well, because the other ones, they wanted, I think the biggest problem, and they could have done it. They could have done up for hit, left for, and you hit up and it would go to hit. They could have done it. The issue, I think, was the fact that betting would have been slower. You up, down. But they could, personally, I think that if you had limited betting options, that would have been okay. Having like, I want to bet 60 versus 70. No, I don't think that's a big deal. But regardless, I think it was a miss. Okay, flag capture. I love the art on flag capture. Hopefully you can see it on the screen right now. has a cool pirate on it and
Makes
stuff.
it seem like it's going to be
Yes.
way more interesting.
I really liked flag capture, especially in the not free for all mode, in the one at a time mode, where we're getting a clue and we have to go through. It's almost kind of a little minesweeper-y, a kind of, or Stratego is kind of brings up
I can
that.
see that.
But the idea of having to, there's definitely a lot of strategy involved, because you get the number, or you get an arrow or whatever. It's like, okay, so it has to be within 2 this way and within 4 that way, and then an arrow that, and it really, I could see that being a very competitive game, because especially in that mode, just because it's not twitchy. You're not just trying to frantically go, because that mode I was not doing well, but the strategy game, that was cool, because you can take your time and you can really plan out your moves.
I gotcha.
I really like flag capture. Out of this, I'm gonna probably go to the S tier. I really like it.
I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of this one. It was a lot of fun. Although, you're talking about the box art does make me think, what would be an awesome game jam? Giving people the covers to Atari 2600 games and telling them, make the game you think this is.
Wow.
Make what you think is supposed to be
That
happening.
sounds like a telephone game kind of thing.
Based on the box art here, make that game and just seeing what people would do. Because I bet you'd come up with some interesting stuff.
That would be interesting. Because it's cool. It looks like it's like pirates on the cover.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, all the covers are fun, and some of them are pretty easy,
Yes.
But, like, some of this stuff you would probably get wildly different.
Yeah.
You'd get slot racers would be wildly different.
When we get to slot racers, that's going to be interesting.
But flag capture, absolutely. Yeah, it was probably my favorite, if I'm honest. This time
it was
around.
Definitely high up there.
I cannot stress enough that I liked all the modes too.
Yeah.
I liked the franticness, but when you slowed it down and had to take turns, using, strategically seeing what the clues led to, the fact that you have to kind of watch because people could do it quickly, or figuring out if you want to do it quickly, you might miss your own clue.
Yeah.
But the variety there really made it feel fun. And it is one that I could actually see myself going into either single or multiplayer repeatedly. I could go back to that and have a lot of fun. Because the basic concept is also just not one that I think a lot of games capture these days.
Oh, really? Capture?
It's not a lot. It's not one of those that games today flag. What do you want me to say? None of these other games flag it quite like flag capture.
Anyway, so speaking of flags, let's go on to football.
That was a wild, good transition. We're doing great.
Okay, so the deal is both Wyatt and I, as you all know, are huge sports fans.
Yeah. Especially
Especially football. Nothing better than that.
real big into it.
Yeah, we're further from the truth. It couldn't be further from the truth. Not big football fans, but we did talk about the fact that even though we're not big sports guys, playing sports in a game is a very different thing from watching it on TV. When you have control and you have a bigger stake in the game. And I would say the version of football on here, while not perfect, there were some glaring issues that I had. One is the fact that there was no, you couldn't do an extra point. It just automatically gave you 7 points. Another one is the flicker.
Yeah.
The flicker. For being simplified, they actually did a good job with all the plays and everything.
Oh, sure, they did.
They did a good job with that. They could have done an extra point, though, I think.
They oversimplified it by taking away things like the extra point or the field goal.
But for the most part, they could have added that, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
they went too far to make it.
But all the different plays that you can do, the flicker, I think, was the thing that really kind of hurt the game.
It just
It's so flickery.
Every single character, once you start moving, goes.
Yeah.
And that's 6 or 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
A bunch of little guys just flashing, and they're red and white, and it's just like
It's because they have so many guys on the field.
Eyes.
That's the problem. It's if they'd have done fewer people, then they wouldn't have had that problem. But then it wouldn't be a football game. It'd be one-on-one football, which would be weird. But really, I really feel like they captured the game. I feel like there was some glaring omissions, like I said, and the flicker just really kind of killed it. It's an early game. They didn't have that down yet on the sprite movement. But I am probably gonna put this. Dang! I really want to put it in A, but I can't because of the flicker. I'm gonna put it at a highest B tier that I can. Because to be honest, I was having a lot of fun. I even for being a non-football fan, it was fun. Yeah, there was a lot of yelling involved.
Yeah, I would genuinely say, just from an experience standpoint, I would put it definitely. If there are any other A's, I'll put them above football.
Sure,
but football was fun. Yeah. I was engaged, and even though it was very frustrating at times, and realizing
when we figured out we were punting the whole time.
Just constant punting back and forth, like, why does he keep getting the ball?
I was like, why aren't you catching that ball? What's going on?
What's going on here? But there were a lot of. It was unique. It made it feel like its own fun thing. It also didn't overdo it, but it was more fun than basketball, even though it omitted a lot of things just like basketball did. Right. I think those omissions
has a lot more going on.
Yeah, I think it hurt it less than basketball did.
Absolutely.
Because basketball, a lot of the fun is the different ways and styles in which you do things. But football, the fun is running back and forth.
Nuance.
Yeah. So I liked it.
Yeah. Okay. So next up is Hangman. So we talked about this last time of, when they're trying to make games that are based on something else. For example, when card games, would it be better to have this game, or would it be better to actually have a deck of cards? Now, in some cases, the deck of cards is preferable because you can play any of these games. But there's a difference in that you don't necessarily, in a case of where you're playing a game where it's like you have a dealer and a player, then it's like, I don't want to always be dealer. I want to be the player.
Sure.
Hangman, while it has the ability to have the two-player, I choose a word and then you guess it.
That's a little harder.
Neither one of us wanted to do that because we wanted to play it basically like Wheel of Fortune.
Sure,
And the deal is if you're playing a Hangman on a piece of paper, well, you're coming up with a word and you just give it to the other person and they just guess the word and you tell them, and you're basically running the game versus being able to play the game. Whereas I felt with this, it was better than if you had paper because you get to play all the time instead of having, you have someone to deal for you.
Sure, yeah.
So I feel like Hangman did everything it said to do. There was the words that it picked actually were decent.
It accomplished its goals.
I was worried about the fact that the words were going to be short. And it's like, okay, well, it talked about going up to high school level. Okay, but some of those words, some of them were
humid,
engulf.
Yeah,
those are bigger words.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah,
they're not $5 words.
Yes, that cat and dog, that kind of thing. So I have zero issues with Hangman. I don't think that it's a particularly fun game. It is what it is.
It accomplishes its goals.
Yeah. However, I definitely don't see myself playing it. I could see it being cool for little kids. I could see that being definitely a game where I'm just gonna play some Hangman. But it's not. To be honest, it's not that dissimilar to Wordle. Really, when you think about it.
Sure. There's a lot that it does well. It does Hangman fairly well.
Yeah.
It's strange that it Xerox prints out your the monkey also.
Yeah.
Instead of a man. Didn't call it hang monkey to differentiate it.
Right.
But hey,
hang chimp.
I did. I don't make the rules here.
Yeah.
It was fun for what it was. I think there is something to be said about part of the reason I didn't want to play the, against each other kind of game. Because even though I like doing that, I like having, setting up a challenge or receiving a challenge from a friend at times. So I don't think the paper analog would be worse for me. I didn't want to do it also because it would take forever and be very difficult to do.
Because if you could just type it,
it would be fine.
Yeah, but if you get it up, okay, look away, and this is the problem. It's like, okay, look away.
Also, are the same sound cues there?
Yeah,
you could literally just listen to the alphabet song.
Oh, that was another thing.
It did do the alphabet. Yeah.
Oh no, it did 3/4 of the alphabet.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, until like T, I think.
It did it to a point, and then it just gave up.
And I don't understand that at all, because the tones are all in there. It wasn't like they needed new tones.
The alphabet song could have been done, and they just gave up partway through. Like somebody forgot.
Yeah, I gotta say though, it was almost like oh cool, because it was like they added something unexpected. But they didn't do it very well, so it was like,
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in C tier below Breakout because fun enough game doesn't do anything that really wowed me.
Right.
I wasn't thrown or really impressed.
Yeah.
I just, also the noise that it made when you got the wrong answer. It was a good noise for getting a wrong answer, but it was like, oh, gee. No.
That's your punishment.
Jeez. I'm getting jumpy over here.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to get jumpy, especially if I was a kid. I think that would give me a complex, like, oh, I got it wrong. The noises.
Yeah. I don't think I'd have been happy if I'd have gotten Hangman on Christmas morning. Be like, hey.
Not really, no.
Here you go, son. Okay, next up is Homerun, another sports game. So we actually had a few sports games this time. The main, like, huge, big sports games. So Homerun. So I actually found that kind of interesting. So they simplified baseball in an interesting way, in that the fact that you don't have a full team. In the basic mode, you only have one guy, the pitcher. The pitcher becomes first baseman, the catcher, the everything. So he catches the ball and he runs over and catches it. Yeah, gets the guy. And to be honest, at first, I felt that to be very lazy. Not lazy, it's not the word.
Limiting.
Too limiting. And I'm used to games where, you actually have to pass it to a baseman. And
also, very interestingly, because of the limited space and the way they did it, the pitcher is pitching from second base.
Yeah.
So there's
weird.
no pitcher's mound.
Yeah, it's just kind of graphics
from
on the screen.
Yeah,
it was kind of interesting there.
And the pitcher is as fast as the Flash.
Yeah,
he throws that ball, and the other guy's like, and he's like.
What I thought was funny is that they did the graphic of the bat on the base,
very.
Which that's like you never see that. That's like one of those things that is just completely disregarded in games. Like, why do you care about the bat? You don't care.
Yeah.
But they actually
it's a nice detail.
Yeah, it was a nice detail. But here's the thing: at the beginning, I was really kind of off-put by one player. That's not a team.
One-man baseball. Yeah.
However, so basically, it turned into one-on-one baseball. And they could have even called that instead of home run.
Interestingly,
but to be honest, after playing it for a while, it grew on me. I kind of felt like, yes, the passing between different players, there is a certain aspect in baseball of where to throw it, where's the play, how can you get somebody out, stealing. There's a whole lot of nuance that they dropped out. They simplified a lot. However, I think they got the essence of baseball down. Even in the 3 players on the screen mode, all that did was you just move them all at the same time, which was weird. That really, I didn't like that.
You're a hive mind at that point.
I didn't like that. I mean, how do you, how do you choose which player you're going to move?
Getting your brain to pick which guy you're supposed to be running with.
Exactly.
Focusing properly.
But
I got more runs on you when you were 3 people.
Yes, exactly. But I truly feel like they got the essence, even though they simplified it quite a bit. But because they simplified it so much, I gotta put it in the B tier. I'm gonna probably put it above Breakout. It was okay. I could see playing that again. It's like, oh, I want to play some baseball. If that's all you had,
Sure.
Back in the day, I had a game that we played a lot on the Atari 8-bit called, it was GameStar Star League Baseball. Great game. They did all of those things I was talking about, and they did them well. Eventually, I'll have to show it to you. Anyway, go ahead.
So, Homerun for me was more fun than basketball, but just didn't quite break out of that little slump that it had.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun overall playing it. The controls were unique. Using the joystick to use the bat was kind of cool.
That was kind of weird. It's like you would think there would just be a button, but they used the joystick.
And of course, like every Atari 2600 game so far, they love controlling the projectile after you throw it.
Oh yeah. That was kind of cool. It was interesting. It was weird at first, but it was kind of cool.
But also, you could like throw these wild, like super fastballs and then slow it. Like,
I just love some of the ones you were doing. There's like a sidewinder pitch.
Yeah, just we were playing some wacky, friggin' Mario baseball where you're getting power ups and.
I gotta say that would be a plus for that game.
No,
at first I was really kind of put off on it. Like, actually, that's cool. Now, you mentioned some. I would say I'm gonna have to put it above basketball, to be honest.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good as football. But yeah.
I think the problem was basketball is too simple for how complex basketball is.
Yeah. So
it's just it doesn't work out for it. But I'd say I had fun with it.
Yeah.
And I'd say I could go back to it. It's just not gonna be top of my list every time.
No. Okay, Human Cannonball. So this is basically physics wrapped up into a video game. Really is what it is. You're trying to aim a cannon, a dude in a cannon into a basket. And I had first played just the basic edition, and it was like, okay, so you just have to just angle it. But then when you get into all the different variations, some of those variations are hard. Like the one with the wall.
Kind of impossible.
That was crazy. I'm like, and the fact that you can't control anything else, or you can control only one other aspect, it became very difficult.
Yeah, not the speed. You can only ever control one thing, and it ends up being kind of messy.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was an interesting concept because I don't think I've seen that before or since. Obviously not from before, but
Angry Birds.
They definitely had some Angry Birds aspect, but there's only one aspect for this. It had all the things,
Yeah.
But Angry Birds would be a good game, an analog to this. But it was cool, but I kind of felt like I don't see myself playing it. It's kind of like.
It was cool, but is a pretty good.
Yeah, not good enough. I gotta put it in the C tier. Probably above Hangman though.
Mm-hmm.
Just because
it wasn't very fun.
No, I guess that's the thing. Is it's a neat concept, but not fun. I think the difference is in like Angry Birds, like you mentioned. At least with Angry Birds, you're like knocking crap over and you're doing all these things, and it's cool.
And there's enough framing, Whereas this, I would agree that it had cool aspects to it, but there's not really enough meat after that concept because it's just throw a guy into a basket.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did like once we figured out you can move the basket.
Sure, in one of those modes.
I feel like you're done. I
think my biggest issue is stuff like the wall, the moving wall, or other things they could have thrown in would have been fine if you could have access to all of the tools all at once. If you could adjust the speed and the angle. Like, I understand that, this is simple times and things couldn't be overly complicated, but there's not really levels. You just shoot at the same wall 7 times, but they change the angle that you have to shoot at, and you can only either change the position of the cannon or the speed or whatever. If it had thrown up like a different wall, and you have to adjust all of your things to get through the new wall. If it had levels like that, where the challenge was changing, but you could use all of your tools to try and overcome it, it would have been a great game. I really think
The
that.
randomness kind of killed it, I think, for me.
It was nothing, because especially because the randomness was true random, meaning you could get the same exact setup 7 times.
The difference is, I think, on Angry Birds also, and keep going back to that analog, is in Angry Birds, if you miss, it doesn't change everything on you. Then you can do it again, and
you can work with it.
Yeah, you can work with it. And that's a part that I think they were trying to make it not too easy, but there's other modes for that. Changing constantly. The wall's changing, the speed is changing, all these things are changing, so you have no chance of figuring it out.
But the actual challenge, like the wall itself moving, didn't change.
Right.
So you were getting different parameters for a challenge, and it just made it feel like, what am I doing? I have to entirely... and so I would say Human Cannonball, for all of its, definitely low C tier for me, just because it did something interesting with some kind of physics, but it didn't make a game out of it in a lot of ways.
Right.
It made the idea that you could turn into a game later.
Yeah.
Like,
I see what
someone else could see it and be like, oh, that would be amazing if you could do this, this, and this.
Right.
So it's an idea, not really a game to me.
Right. Okay.
Or not a full game.
Yeah. Next up, Outlaw. Outlaw, I had a lot of fun with. The issue, it did what it was supposed to. Basically shooting each other. My issue is I'm not sure why I didn't have more fun with it, and I don't know if what they could have done to make it better. But I.
Like maybe if you lost a little less. Or...
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. There we go. Here it comes.
Could be.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe if I lost less, it would be a better game. That's what you're trying to say.
Very possible.
Yeah, so if I rocked at this, I'd put it in the S tier. So, it's... I don't know. The thing in the middle was kind of interesting.
But the fact that in some of the modes where you could blow away the thing in the middle, you could walk past the guy, but you couldn't turn around.
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
To get an advantage.
I think they should have
there was no way
there.
for you to... Either make it so you can't, or make it so you can turn around somehow.
Right.
Like after you pass a certain threshold, you turn around.
Right.
I don't know how feasible that was at the time. But just make it so I can't go across.
It could have been something like hold down the button and push down or whatever.
Sure, and the cactus being there made it so that wasn't a problem at first. But once you could destroy the cactus or destroy the stagecoach or whatever, it was like, so I can just hide behind you and...
I felt like also that, it was just a matter of us just shooting each other and just killing each other over and over and over and over.
Sure,
and over. I felt like there was a lot of... because of the mode, and I think there was a way to move it to where you shoot and you can move. The basic mode, and a lot of it, I kind of judge these games based on the first mode, just because that's kind of the main game that most people play with.
Because it's entirely possible, especially if you're a kid or just anyone who's, getting into video games in the 70s where you don't have a lot of experience because no one did at the time, you might never change game modes.
Right.
You might never think to do that. Like, there's a thing there, and if you saw a commercial, maybe, but it's entirely possible you got this as a gift, and you're just plugging it in and like, this is how it works? And if you don't read the manual, you don't know.
Right. I felt like the whole shooting and then you're paused there. I really wanted to have, and it's possible just you're playing in the wrong mode, but I really wanted to shoot and move. Because, if you're just shooting and then you're just standing there, then you're just going to get shot. And that's what happened every time.
Sure, and the getaway mode where you could do that was better.
Yeah. I think that's the deal, is the getaway mode.
It just, why wasn't that the primary?
Yeah.
The added challenge of having to stop is a fun added challenge.
Maybe. They could have, I think he could have removed the
You could have, but you could have put that as a challenge mode, and I think people would have appreciated it. I might have even been like, oh, that's not for me, but I can appreciate how that adds difficulty.
Sure.
This, though, just as a standard mode is like, well, it's a bad standard mode.
Yeah.
Or worse, anyway.
Right. I would say I did have fun with it. I'm gonna probably put it right in the B tier, kind of lower B tier. Well, you know what? No, I think I would prefer over basketball. I could see playing that. Maybe not a lot, but sure. We definitely had fun with it. That's for sure. I think I'd want to be in the getaway mode because I feel like there's a little bit more to going on.
Mm-hmm. And I understand what you're saying, judging by the first mode, and I know I was giving my own criticisms, but I gotta say, that game I had just tons of fun with. There is a very simple, and it stands through to today, where a lot of people will do 1v1s in a lot of different shooting games, because there is something satisfying about just, you have a shoot-off with another person.
You know what's funny is this is probably the first, if you think about multiplayer shooting game.
Kind of deathmatch.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. Yeah, it's like a lot of firsts here. So,
yeah. Because, combat being more vehicle-based, this is the first one where it's like you and another guy, and you're shooting at each other. And it's the satisfying Old West kind of shootouts.
Right.
The ricochet bullets were fun because they weren't so slow that it made them annoying like in some other ricocheting games on the 2600. But it was just fun to like whoop-pow and angle it. Yeah. It had a lot that worked for it, and despite its flaws, I just had too much fun not to do that.
Fair enough. Okay.
I liked the 6-shooter mode too, because it made you.
That was hard. You really have to plan your shots.
Yeah, you had to think about it. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Next up is Slot Racers. I gotta say, Slot Racers is probably the most interesting game.
Wild experience.
Wild game. It's like if you were trying to explain that game to somebody, it's like you're driving a thing around in a maze. It's like, what is it? Again, it looked like a wizard's hat. It was weird.
Yeah, or a top hat sometimes.
Yeah, it was weird. It was straight up.
I didn't really understand what the thing moving was supposed to represent.
Well, you're turning left or right is what the deal
was. But
what it is,
Yeah, from the angle that you're looking at, it's like, oh, you're turning, but it just made it look like you were spawning a claw to move.
Yeah, it was odd, but here's
the visual
thing.
Feedback was bad.
Yeah. I liked it. The deal is like I can like something, but not. I don't really want to play it, but I really enjoyed what they were trying to do. It got going so fast though. Oh my god! The characters moving around on the screen when the bullets going everywhere. It was insane.
It was kind of overstimulating almost.
Yeah. I would say it's one of those that I could see wanting to go back to and try to
really
like,
easy to get
better.
Stuck.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like the bullet. If you were good at the game, and you could direct that bullet. And either if it's the fast moving or the slow moving.
That's the other thing is in some modes where you're going really fast, suddenly your bullets are slower than you are.
Right.
So you've got to like launch it past the guy and hope it hits before yours. Before theirs hits you. It gets very mind meldy.
Yeah.
I was looking at it, not really understanding what I was seeing a lot.
Yeah.
And I think to your point, I can appreciate what something does without enjoying it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Slot Racers was for me.
Yeah, it was interesting and unique. I've never seen it something like that.
It's just like when you watch a movie and you're like, wow, that's a culturally relevant movie. I can see how this became other things, an old classic. And then being like, I would be totally fine never seeing that again in my life.
Yeah.
Don't enjoy it. But I see why it's important or interesting that people did like.
Yeah.
I just don't. And that's what Slot Racers is.
Yeah, I get you there. Yeah, I feel like my B slot is getting very large. I would, my thought is if I had time, I would probably I wouldn't mind spending it to try to get better at the game.
It's a game that does beg you to master it as opposed to...
Yeah, and a lot of these other games, it's you're kind of one and done. Basketball does not take any effort to get better at it.
You're pretty much good from the get.
Yeah, whereas Slot Racers, no, that takes time and energy. And that's why I feel like for me, out of all of these games, I feel like with maybe football could be another one with all the plays and stuff, but Slot Racers really, to me, has kind of longevity of going, yeah, if I were going to spend some more time trying to get better at a game, that would be it, at least on this list.
I could understand that, because it's, like I said a second ago, it's a game that begs you to master it, where a game I would really enjoy that is just fun might just be like, yes, I really want to play this, but if you're gonna play Slot Racers, it's going to be a dedication, which can be admittedly very cool in its own right. I can't say that I'm that kind of person for at least that game, and for a lot of games, and the fact that it doesn't have that basic fun element to me, at least, it was interesting, but it's not one I'd go back to just to have fun. If you're gonna master it, that's one thing, but also because it's exclusively a two-player game, it also kind of requires someone else to master it with you.
Yeah, otherwise you're just beating the hell out of them.
Yeah, or equally, you just have no one.
Yes,
you can't hone your skill.
Yeah, I think that could be a competitive game.
Sure, yeah.
Out of a lot of these other ones, it's you could have a competition for the game.
But I gotta put it probably above Human Cannonball, because again, Human Cannonball, I just didn't see that same kind of thing. But it's got that same issue for me, where it's like, something like this could be more fun and could be iterated on.
Right.
But I'm not going to play this one again. That's for sure.
Fair enough. I got you. Okay, so now we're down to the last one. That is Space War. So at first glance, Space War is basically like a two-player asteroids.
Mixed with combat.
Yeah, mixed with combat. But I had quite a bit of fun playing it. It was especially when you like some of like the hyperspace mode, man. You're hauling ass at one time. I'm like, oh my God, we were going everywhere, and all the different modes were actually very interesting.
I couldn't see myself.
Yeah.
I was like, where am I? I'm at like
flying across the screen.
Like it feels like I'm at 4 places on the screen at once, because also my bullets bouncing and going everywhere. And
the fact that they, it did all the physics stuff really well.
Yeah.
The sun mode was cool because it brings you in. The gravity, the space station mode, which we didn't play too much, but the idea of it was cool.
They changed the color from the sun to.
Yeah. I think it could have been a bigger thing.
A bigger dot.
Like something that looked not sun-like. But truly, it's another, two-player only game. I guess they had some modes that were one-player.
Yeah, but we didn't really mess with it too much.
It's primarily a two-player game. I have to put that in A tier. I thought it was definitely engaging. There's a lot of stuff going on with it, and I had fun playing it. I could see playing it again. It was. Definitely one that is all the different modes. It actually was improved with a lot of other modes.
Sure, I would agree with that.
And having all of these different possibilities was kind of neat.
I would kind of agree, actually. I'm gonna put it below Outlaw, but
sure.
I had fun with it, and I laughed, and I had an enjoyable time, and if someone asked me to, I would go back and play it again. It is definitely one where difficult at times to really understand what you're doing.
Well, when you start going Mach 3.
Yeah, when you're going real fast, and even not with the hyperspace where you're, rapping on the screen, it's like you're bouncing all over the place, and if you went fast enough, it's like it's going to take you a while to regain that control. Right. The graphics were very interesting, though. I thought it was cool. And just the color choices were a little different.
Yeah.
Not necessarily great, but they were different, so it made it stand out a little bit. The pink and the blue kind of color.
Right.
The fact that you were bouncing all over the place was kind of fun. The lack of control was fun for the game.
Right.
I can't say that I would rank it above Outlaw again, because I had more fun with that. But still, an enjoyable experience. And I'm just glad, real quick, that we didn't have a basic math.
Like
That's true. I'm dreading when this gets filled.
Yeah, it'll be filled.
I know.
A lot of bad games on the 2600. And funny enough, I have kind of held the opinion that a lot of the Atari games kind of are in that realm. Now, the deal is we are dealing with all games made by Atari. Now, if we were trying to compare these games with some of the third-party games,
oh, I'm sure
they'd be all down in the mixing math level compared to the other. But that's okay.
That's why we're doing them contextually.
Yes, exactly. Contextually is a good word.
To give them a fighting chance.
Okay, so that's all we have for today. So actually, if you could leave us a comment telling us what you agree with and what you don't agree with on our list. For the most part, we have completely different lists here. I mean, it's the casino is lowest and flag capture's highest, but all the others are very, very different.
Yeah.
And so that is one thing that I feel is kind of interesting, having two different perspectives, one old, one young. You've never seen these before. I've seen these for the last 40 years. So now the good thing is a lot of these are still new to me.
Sure. We are getting into new territory for both of us.
So next,
different context.
Yes, exactly. So So as always, see you in the next adventure.
If you disagree with me, fight me about it.
You can add him at no. All right.
Don't at me. Nobody at me. I don't need adding.
No adding at all.
You can fight me, but you can't at me.
All right, guys, take care.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of this kind of content, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. I post new videos all the time and I wouldn't want you to miss any. If you'd like to see more of this series, be sure to click up here. And if you'd like to see something else, be sure to click up here.